Hey everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I thought it'd be fun to take you through my retro wrestling game collection. I say retro, some of them are retro, some of them are the modern games, but most of my retro collection I've got in physical form. So I thought it might be fun to show you what I've got and us all to take a trip down memory lane and talk about some of these classic wrestling games. But in case you aren't ready, please do like the video, comment below what your favourite wrestling game of all time is, and subscribe for more wrestling action. Let's get into this one. So here's a sneak preview at all the games we've got to get through. So let me get set up and let's start talking about these beauties. Okay, so I thought we'd start off with the PlayStation selection, 2 PS1 games, and then the PS2 game, starting off, of course, SmackDown 1. This is a fairly new one to my collection, actually. I haven't actually had it that long. I haven't played too much of it. This one was a little bit before my time. However, I am under the understanding that when this one came out, it was pretty revolutionary. And what I have played of it was pretty good, but I haven't got that much to say about it because I didn't really play it too much. But this one, on the other hand, SmackDown 2, again, a fairly recent one. I got these two in a bundle, actually. I think I got them for about £15 off eBay, and I'm talking maybe a year, maybe two. So not that long ago. This one I put a little bit more time into. The Royal Rumble is definitely a product of its time. You can only have 4 people in the ring. You all start in the ring at one time, and then one person comes out every time one of the 4 is eliminated. However, this is very similar to this, but a big improvement nonetheless. And then, of course, we move on to Just Bring It, which again was another big improvement. Not the big improvement that some people were hoping for. This one I did have when I was a kid, and I didn't like it. Now, that is because I had the next game underneath here, some of you may know what that one is already, first. So this one was stepping back at a time when going back wasn't always too fun. And there was quite a big difference, I think, between Just Bring It and Shut Your Mouth. So this was one of my first wrestling games, and I did absolutely adore this game and still do adore this game. I genuinely think it's one of the best wrestling games ever made. So going back to this one was just superior. I didn't like the controls. You had to use the D-pad on that one, if I remember correctly. This one was just a whole better game. So yeah, Shut Your Mouth, Just Bring It. It was great for the time, I'm sure, but wasn't really something that took my fancy. However, Shut Your Mouth, man, this game is absolutely insane. I absolutely loved it. It wasn't that long ago I was showing my girlfriend some of the retro games because she's a fairly new wrestling fan since being with myself. So she sort of has only been watching since 2020 or so. So we went back and played this one, and even she agreed this was one of her favourite wrestling games. We had a really good time playing it. So it just shows that, yeah, even though some of the graphics may be a bit blocky, these games really do hold up, man. Like, they really do. Shut Your Mouth will always have a special place in my heart. As much as I'd like to put it over this game, I can't, because what can we say about Here Comes the Pain that hasn't already been said? This game is insane. I got this one a little bit later. I did have Shut Your Mouth quite a way before it. So this one is still nostalgic for me, but not quite as nostalgic as this one. But if someone's coming over and it's like, let's play a retro video game, this is the one I'm picking. And therefore, sorry Shut Your Mouth, I love you, but Here Comes the Pain. I mean, the roster is great. Lesnar, Cena, Orton, on top of like all the other legends in there as well, though no Mr. Hogan. Not that that matters these days, but it did at the time, to be honest with you. And yeah, to be honest with you, it was just this, but bigger and badder and better. I say badder. I'm using WWE 12's marketing there. Bad doesn't make any sense. But, you know, I'm sure we all have those memories of fighting in the subway and on the streets, Times Square and stuff. Yeah, just absolutely brilliant game. The legends that it had in it as well. Loved this game to pieces. Next up, here's a one for you. I did a short TikTok on this, so I don't know if it's been posted yet or not, but WWE Crush Hour. A very interesting game. If you haven't played it, it's essentially a driving game with WWE Superstars. I'll say this about it. I did like the fact that each character has its like own like themed cars and that. And I did like the idea that Vince McMahon's purchased all television, and this cool scene at the start of the game where Kane's like a chef and all the WWE Superstars are doing like other TV show things, and then of course they have this racing thing. It's not that bad of a game. There's Taker's one there. It's really not that bad of a game. It's just it's just different, to be honest with you. I haven't put that much time into it, but if you want a little bit of nostalgia for you, CashCon, £3. God damn, you don't see that these days. Moving on then, we have the first SmackDown versus Raw. Again, this was actually, as a kid, when I was collecting the PS2 games, this was actually one of the last ones I got. So I don't have... the other ones were just better in my opinion, like the ones following underneath this. However, going back and playing this semi-recently, I do actually really appreciate this game. It's kind of the merge between 06 and Here Comes the Pain. It's like that middle ground. And at the time, I can imagine it was pretty revolutionary. Yeah, I haven't got that much to say about it. It was good. Didn't put loads of time into it, but I appreciate what it started. Now, this isn't my childhood game, 2006. However, I still love this game to pieces. I don't know why. It's very similar to SmackDown vs. Raw, and it's very similar to SVR 2007, which, trust me, we'll get onto in a minute. But I don't know, there's something about this time era of WWE, it's so nostalgic for me. Batista, Cena, just the roster was great, the gameplay was fun. At the time, I grew up with the one underneath it, but these two games are very similar, and it's just nostalgic, man, isn't it? Like the roster, the time period, the way the game plays, the graphics were really on the rise back then as well. Absolute fantastic game. But SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 will always be my favourite wrestling game. Is it the best wrestling game? No, it's not. It's nostalgia talking. But I can admit that. But this game, honestly, this is the reason I got into wrestling right here. Not this exact copy, I don't think. I think I repurchased this one because I think my other one broke. Actually, you know what? It might be the original copy. Yeah, it is, because I haven't got the manual in there. Man, this game, so many memories. You know, like just learning like Taker, Rey Mysterio, learning all the wrestlers. They had some cool backstage segments. The gameplay was cool. You had the bit in the crowd. This is just how I learned wrestling, and therefore I just always love it. Plus, it's not just nostalgia. The game is actually really good as well. Nostalgia plays a big part. And of course, that's probably one of the reasons why Triple H is my favourite wrestler of all time, because he's on the cover of my personal favourite wrestling game of all time. So that's my PlayStation 1 and 2 collection. Let's move on to PSP and PS3 games. Now, I will note that I grew up on an Xbox 360, so I went N64, believe it or not, showing my age there. PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and now I have PS5 and Xbox Series X. But, so these ones I've actually been collecting semi-recently, the PS3 ones. PSP, they're kind of like mid. So I got 2006, 2010, and 2011. To be honest with you, I haven't put this many hours into the PSP. The PSP was a kind of a clunky console, in my opinion. I was more of a DS guy. I'm not anything against the PSP. But yeah, but this one, as we just discussed, was actually the one I put the most amount of time into, because I thought it played the best on the PSP. So there you go, 2010, 2011, great games, and we'll get onto those. But for the PSP people, this was my favourite. Love 2006 on the PSP. And a lot of that is due to SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 being one of the GOATs of the wrestling games. So moving over to the PS3 games, as I say, these are actually, in the past year, I've been collecting them on the PS3, mainly because I've had two Xbox 360s and they both got the red ring, so I can't play my 360 collection. So I've been collecting these, starting off with 2008. Great game. I got this one on the 360, which we'll get into. It was like mid into my like wrestling collection phase back in like early 2010s. Still prefer 2007 to be honest with you over this. However, I did still really like 2008 at the time. The menu songs on here are on my gym playlist and my normal playlist still to this day. They're absolute top quality. The roster was pretty decent. I remember missing the Big Show at this time. But yeah, and the fact that Jeff Hardy was in this immediately makes it a great game. Having Jeff Hardy in a game since since Shut Your Mouth, that was phenomenal. So yeah, great game, 2008. Many fond memories in this. And Punk, let's not forget about Punk. So then we jump straight to 2011. So I've got 2009, 2010 to get on the PS3. 2011, I'm going to talk through these in my next section, just because these ones are fairly new. So we've got 2011, WWE 12, WWE 13, and WWE 2K14. And don't worry, I will be talking through each of these games in detail, just in the Xbox 360 version of this video. So moving on, this is the random selection. So we will finish off the PlayStation series with the one PS4 game that I own physically, which is Battlegrounds. The other PS4 game I have is WWE 2K20. So yeah, the PS4 games I've got aren't great, are they? Not much to say about 2K Battlegrounds. It's mid. It's worse than mid, actually. It's a bad game. I was very excited for this because obviously we did have to wait a long time between 2K20 and 2K22, and I was hyped for this game. Okay, let's say one thing about it. The roster was absolutely insane. Gameplay, on the other hand, was not. You basically had 5 different gameplay styles and every match was the same. It was no WWE All-Stars, let's put it like that. So yeah, unfortunately, didn't really like this game. I put a lot of game time into 2K20. I just downloaded that straight onto the system at the time. But obviously, the less said about these two games, the better. So now we're going to go into what I call my Nintendo selection. So this is quite small and a bit random. We'll start off with this WWF Superstars game I had. Can't even remember where this came from. This was one of my first wrestling games. Oh, there you go. Cash con for £3. So obviously I saw Hogan, Warrior and Savage on there and I was like, I have to get that, please, mum. The game I never really liked that much because obviously it was a bit dated even at the time I got it. We're probably talking late 2010s, like 2008 sort of time maybe. So yeah, it didn't hold up, but for me at that time it was like, yeah, I have a wrestling game on the go, even if it was very dated, but still a cool piece to have in the collection. Then we have my 2 N64 games, which are WWF Warzone and WCW NWO Revenge. Again, 2 very new purchases. This one's about 2 years old. This one I bought, I think it was last year now. God, time goes so quickly. But yeah, got that one from CEX. Okay game, really like WCW NWO Revenge, and as I say, I never played it as a kid, so it's fairly new to me. I like the way it plays. And there's something about that blocky charm that I just really like, and there's something I like being the fact that when I grew up, I wasn't in the WCW Monday Night Raw war. Of course, I know we all know about it, but I didn't live through it. And there's something about playing a WCW game, not like WCW game people in a WWE game, that I really like. So yeah, 2 really cool games here. But yeah, WCW Revenge, definitely my favourite. So next up, I've got WWE All-Stars on the 3DS. I'll get into more about this game in the Xbox 360 version, but this runs too well on the 3DS. Not to mention you get all the DLCs as well. I love WWE All-Stars, and the fact that I can take it on the go, even today, I think such a cool feeling. Again, this is like 5 years old, so way past the time that it actually came out, but this game is awesome. I just think like the character models in it, the finishers, the gameplay, it's all so fun. The fact that this one has all the DLCs on the go and runs well, absolute win. Yeah, I bought it twice. No, I don't know why. I just wanted a wrestling game on the go. I originally had WWE 2K18 on the Switch and I returned it. And yeah, let me just show you. I'm a video game collector, mostly Switch. So yeah, again, mostly Switch. I had 2K18 on the Switch and I sold it. It's the only Switch game I've ever sold because I collect them. I hated it and I did not want it in my collection. So why I bought this, have it on the go, but really, I don't know why, because I never play it because I don't like it. Let's just move on from that. Next up, another fairly recent purchase, WrestleMania 18, and just for £3 at CEX. I haven't really put any time into this. I think I booted it up to make sure it worked, but yeah, so I haven't really got much to say about this one. I just like the fact that it was on the GameCube, the graphics look pretty good, and WrestleMania 18 is a special WrestleMania for me. Not because I watched it, it was actually way after I got into wrestling. Before I got into wrestling. But Triple H being my favourite and learning about the feud between him and Jericho and him tearing his quad and the payoff being at this WrestleMania, I know for a lot of people they didn't like it, but for me, that fascinated me and I loved that match. And also these two going at it is also an iconic moment. So yeah, haven't put too much time into it yet, but definitely glad to have it in my collection. And the final Nintendo game is SmackDown vs. Raw 2010. Now this one is nostalgic for me because this is the first game I got in my wrestling phase, like when I got into wrestling, because I had 2007, I then got 2009, and this was like one of the first new games I bought, so like the one of the new year, if you like. So I got this in 2009, and the idea was I had my PS2 upstairs in my bedroom, and the Wii was in the living room. So I was like, I can play SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, 2009 upstairs, and I could play this downstairs. And boy, I loved it. It really felt like a jump from 2009, which I wasn't a huge fan of, to be honest with you. This I really did enjoy. 2010, great game. And yeah, just lots and lots of nostalgia for me on this one. So now, let's move on to the Xbox section. So here are my Xbox games. So the original Xbox games were at the top. Not too familiar with. These are fairly new as well, because I am still collecting wrestling games. Starting off with WrestleMania 21, I know this is notoriously a bad game, and do you know what? I haven't actually tried it out yet, because the fact that my Xbox has got red rings, I am looking at getting another one. However, the case looks cool, and it's just one for the collection really, isn't it? So, not much to say about that one. Let me know if you like it down in the comments below, or if it's absolute trash. Raw 2, I have played. I managed to sneak on this one before my Xbox broke. Wasn't a fan, to be honest with you. Didn't really like the way it played. However, happy to have it in my collection, and it's cool to see Goldberg on the front cover. So we got the two miscellaneous ones at the top, because I didn't organise these properly. They do get better, I promise. All-Stars, as we just discussed, we had it on the 3DS, but on the Xbox 360, this is where I got this game for the first time, and I did get it at release. And I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. Put so much time into this game alongside SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. It was cool just being able to play as legends like Hogan, Andre, Old Taker, and you can unlock Old Taker and New Taker, and Old Kane's attire. Just a great way to learn new legends that we hadn't heard of before, along with putting them up against, and one of my favourite things to do was to do legends versus superstars at the time, and do these dream matches. The way it played, the gameplay was fun, the finishers were just awesome. Yeah, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's because we weren't as spoiled as what we are for video games back then. But to me, 2K Battlegrounds on this aren't even comparable. This will always be the GOAT. And if you've never played WWE All-Stars, go and pick yourself up a copy, whether it's on Xbox, PlayStation 3, 3DS. Just play this game, because I promise you, you will have a good time. Now here's a controversial one. Legends of WrestleMania. Now, I actually really liked this game. Going back to it now, I haven't played it in a few years. It doesn't quite hold up, but for me, at the time, this was like an introduction to me of like so many matches that I had previously never seen or never heard of. Because at the time, we didn't have network. I didn't really have any access to the internet either at the time, despite the fact that it was in the Xbox 360 era. So a lot of these characters, wrestlers and matches I've never heard of before. So being able to play through the first 15 years of WrestleMania, and plus I was a big fan of these two back in the day, and these two to be fair, but Andre's always been one of my favourites, and his match with Hogan at WrestleMania 3 has always fascinated me. Being able to play those epic matches in a new style, I really liked. And especially when I got 2009 and you could import the 2009 guys in there, you could basically have another version of this, but in a more realistic setting. So yeah, the gameplay is a bit confusing. It doesn't really hold up, but for the time and the place, I really enjoyed this game. If you've played Legends of WrestleMania, let me know what you think about it, because I know it splits people down the middle sometimes. So then we get on to the main series. Now, of course, we have been through SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, but of course, being one of my favourite wrestling games of all time, I had to pick up the 360 version for the better graphics, even though it is in this weird clear case. So yeah, just happy to own that twice. And we did already speak a little bit about 2008 as well, but I actually had the PS2 version as a kid, which is where I first played it. I haven't got it anymore. I don't know where the hell that's gone, actually, now I think about it. But yeah, the 360 version, of course, better graphics, and I do really like the game. And I actually lent this to a friend back in secondary school. He wasn't really into wrestling, and he really liked this game. Also used to mention the menu music to me quite a lot, which is interesting. But yeah, 2008, fantastic game. Then we get onto this horrible case, classics case of SmackDown from 2009. Again, I had this one on the PS2 when I was a kid. I did like it. I played the Road to WrestleMania a lot because at the start of Road to WrestleMania, you actually got like cutscenes of like if you played Triple H's one, you'd get like a few glimpses of his matches. And again, I hadn't had access to actually like proper WWE programming, so I used to watch that on repeat. And obviously DX being are my favourite tag team of all time. In fact, these two are pretty much 1 and 2 for my favourite wrestlers of all time. Maybe that man comes in second, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I still really enjoyed the game, but honestly, 2007 was still my preferred game. So again, 2010 we've been through, my main version was on the Wii, but of course I repurchased it on the 360 to complete the collection, and I've still played and had a good amount of time with it. So, SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. I've got a confession to make. When I was a kid, I didn't really like it that much. And there was one reason for that. I didn't like the fact that you couldn't have title matches whenever you wanted and they had to be put up in universe mode. It bugged the hell out of me. Of course, moving on, that isn't much a big deal. And now this is one of my favourites because the physics in it were just spot on, weren't they? It also had a great roster as well. But yeah, it's the gameplay of this one that really takes it home. And the graphics are actually really solid as well. And Universe Mode was, I did really enjoy it. It's just, yeah, the title thing bugged me as a kid. But still, great game, SmackDown Raw 2011. WWE 12, of course, got this from 2011 is when I started getting them every year and still do. I did like WWE 12. I remember being really hyped for it, but there was something about it that just didn't click with me. Like, I don't remember having as many fond memories as I did with this and the games coming up. However, I remember it having a weird but okay story with Sheamus taking all the titles and Kevin Nash coming back and just being wacky. But yeah, what I remember most about this one is the marketing for it and changing from SmackDown vs. Raw to WWE. Now, this game I loved. I loved the Attitude Era story mode, sort of the first showcase mode if you liked. I loved the fact that you basically had the current day roster at the time, but then also the whole Attitude Era roster as well. So many fun hours in this game, so many fun matches to be had. It was a great game. But when this game came out, I had to wait till Christmas. My friend had this one and I was stuck on this one. And boy, did I want this game. This is still one of my favourite wrestling games of all time. The 30 years WrestleMania mode, be it a little bit long, it was so cool playing through some of these iconic matches. The roster was phenomenal. The fact that we had every WrestleMania arena up to that point, beat the streak, defend the streak, create a story. This game is one of the GOATs. I just love it to pieces. Every time anyone asks me like what's one of my favourite wrestling games, the ones that come to mind is 2K24, or like the current 2K games up to 2K22, because those are solid. I'm sorry, I know they're not nostalgic, but they are really good games. SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, Here Comes the Pain, and this bad boy, sorry. Absolutely love this game, top tier. So we've got one more section to go through, the Xbox One games, along with a few special surprises, so let's get to it. Okay, so here we are with the Xbox One games. A couple of these are missing because I did start going digital towards the end. But 2K15, the first game along with Titanfall that I had on the Xbox One. Yeah, I know it's got its haters, but I loved this game. I was so excited when I got it. I liked the gameplay, be it a bit slower. I liked the realism of it. I thought the roster was pretty solid. Yes, it was lacking game modes, but that didn't stop me from putting some serious hours into this game. I liked it, and I still kind of do. I recently played through the 2 showcase modes in it, and I had a great time, to be honest with you. So I'm not really a big, see why people give this game hate. Yes, okay, it was a downgrade, and we lost a lot of features from 2K14. I get that, but I still really enjoyed the game. So yeah, it is what it is. Then move on to 2K16, which I know a lot of people thought was a massive upgrade from this, but to be honest with you, I don't really have as many memories with this one. Of course, I got it released and still put a good amount of time into it. I do remember enjoying the Stone Cold Showcase mode. But yeah, I mean, it had a good roster. I remember that. There was quite a lot of unique characters in there. But in my opinion, it was pretty similar to this, just a little bit faster gameplay, really. 2K17. I don't remember a thing about this game. Yes, I still put a lot of time into it, but to be honest with you, between 16, 17 and 18, they all blur into one for me. I can't lie to you. But yeah, I mean, not much to say about this game. I obviously put some decent time into it, as I always do. But yeah, just can't really remember it, to be honest with you. And the same with 2K18. They're literally the same situation. I got these at the start of, like, when the games came out, but I just don't remember anything about them. It wasn't until 2K19, which I haven't got, I got that one digitally, that I actually remember them with the showcase mode with Daniel Bryan. The showcase mode was what made them stood out for me personally, so when they took them away, that's probably why these ones blend into one for me. But 2K19 I absolutely loved. Put so many hours into it, great roster, great showcase mode. It really started to pick up steam. Then of course 2K20 happened and everything went a bit downhill. But then this game came out, WWE 2K22. I thought this was fantastic. And I haven't, 2K23 and 24 I've got digitally, so this will just have to fill in for them. But of course, 2K23 is better than 22, and 2K24 is better than 23 in my opinion. They haven't downgraded in any areas in my opinion, they've really upgraded. Sure, there's a couple of characters that we're missing, like Edge, Jeff Hardy, and people like that were in this one and 2K23 that we're missing, and would be nice to have in there as official characters. But overall, the rosters are always solid, the gameplay's solid, the arenas are okay. I would prefer a few like Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era, not just the WrestleManias, but like the fact they don't add Raw as Raw and stuff like that in there. It's like, why do we have to download that for Community Creations? Put it in yourself. But that's like my only criticism. As far as the games go, I think they're absolutely brilliant. So yeah, if you haven't already and you're thinking about picking up a 2K game, I'd recommend picking up 2K24, but to be honest with you, even if you did get 22 or 23, you're still going to have a great time. And that is my wrestling game collection. But I've got a couple of bonuses for you. Have you seen Wrestlers vs. Zombies? I picked it up for £4 from CEX. It's got Kurt Angle, Jim Duggan, Shane Douglas, Matt Hardy, Roddy Piper. I mean, wow. This movie was absolutely awful. I just wanted to throw it in here because I got it fairly recently. Me and my girlfriend saw it. We're like, it's got wrestlers in it. We've got to watch it. Yeah, it was bad. It was very bad. However, it's still cool to have it in the collection. And the final bonus is Raw The Greatest Hits. You have no idea how much this CD got played in my car. Or my mum's car, I should say. I couldn't drive at the time. And she loved it as well. She loved Sexy Boy. She liked Triple H's one. She loved Shane O'Mac's one as well. I mean, look at some of these songs on here. Especially before the days of Spotify and YouTube. This is how we got our wrestling... this is how we got our wrestling music. And so much nostalgia looking at that. But yeah, that was a wrestling game collection. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you did enjoy that trip down memory lane looking at my wrestling game collection, all the way from some really retro stuff all the way up to the current day and getting some of my thoughts and feelings on each game. But I want to know down in the comments below, what is your favourite wrestling game of all time and what's your collection looking like? Have you got any hidden gems in there that I didn't have here today that you'd like to share? I would love to hear about it and start a conversation down there. Of course, leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, or a dislike if you didn't, and please do subscribe for more wrestling content. Yeah, can't wait to make more for you. But until the next video, I will see you later. See ya!